Earlier this year on my channel, I featured Leprechaun 4, Leprechaun in Space, and then Critters 4, Critters in Space. And now, to complete the trilogy, I guess, of horror movies in space, here is Jason X, Jason in Space. Hello once again, folks. It's a pretty hot afternoon out there, and I should be out enjoying the sun or, getting some exercise, that kind of thing. But no, I'm in here sweating away in my 4th floor apartment talking to you about Jason X. This is an example of the kind of sacrifices that I make for you people. Just kidding. Thanks again for joining me here. Anyway, Jason X. It was made in 2001. It's the 10th of the Friday the 13th installments. This is after Paramount Pictures sold the Friday the 13th license, or the character license of Jason anyway, to New Line Cinema. And now that I think about it, this is a New Line Cinema movie. This came out the same year as Lord of the Rings. Well, it's not nearly as epic, let me tell you that. This is Jason in Space. I guess I should get a few details out of the way. First of all, there's probably nobody in this that you would recognize except for one guy, and that's David Cronenberg, the director. I know, David Cronenberg, the guy who made Videodrome, The Brood, Scanners, a bunch of other crazy movies that I can't seem to remember right now. Anyway, yeah, of course, David Cronenberg doesn't direct this, but he does have a cameo. He has a small role at the very beginning, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But other than him, you're not going to know anybody in this movie. Anyway, yeah, Jason Voorhees. The movie starts in 2010. So I guess 8 years in the future from when this was released. And they've got Jason all chained up in a laboratory. Apparently he's killed hundreds of people, and he just keeps coming back from the dead and everything. And they finally managed to detain him. David Cronenberg plays this scientist that wants to exploit Jason's regenerative properties. Wasn't that kind of going on in Leprechaun in Space too? Anyway, David Cronenberg's he's looking at him and, oh, magnificent, yeah, we'll take him, we're gonna transfer him out of here. And the scientist that's working there doesn't think that's a good idea. You can't do this, he's just pure evil, and you're just asking for trouble. So, of course, Jason breaks out, he manages to kill David Cronenberg and all of his goons and stuff. And then he goes after that other scientist, and she manages to trap him in the cryo-freeze chamber, thereby freezing Jason in suspended animation, as well as herself. Then we cut to the year... what year? 2455. By that time, mankind has gone out into space, and they've just wrecked the Earth. It's all polluted and it's unlivable. From Earth 2, however, there's an expedition sent back to Earth with I guess he's a university professor, and he's got all his students, and they're taking him on a field trip, an archaeological field trip back to Earth, and they come across frozen Jason and his frozen scientist lady that wants to stop him. They bring Jason and the woman aboard their spaceship and back to Earth 2. But of course, along the way, when they first get Jason, he he's holding his machete and he's frozen, and he falls out of the cryo freeze chamber, and he chops this dude's arm off, which is actually pretty funny because it's not a big deal apparently, because it doesn't kill the guy. He dies later, but who cares about that character? Anyway, yeah, they get him back aboard the ship. The guy who got his arm cut off goes to the sick bay or whatever, and they have these little nanobots that reconstruct his arm and totally heal him completely. And well, they're setting that up for something, I think. And I do believe they use that same process with the nanobots in the sick bay to revive the female scientist that was trapped along with Jason. and they revive her, and she's like, you got to get rid of his body, you got to like launch it into space or just destroy it, don't let him loose. But the professor, or the guy that's in charge of this expedition, he has other plans, because back on Earth 2 they want to again study Jason Voorhees, and they find out stuff about him, and he finds out how valuable he is as an artifact. Anyway, Jason comes back to life because he's been taken out of cryo freeze, and he, with his regenerative powers, regenerative powers, he's able to come back to life, and he runs around the spaceship and kills people. And that's the movie. Basically, I mean, stuff happens, like cheesy, like, sex scenes and pseudo comedic scenes with the professor and his students, and there's also like some, I guess, space marines or space cops or whatever they are aboard the ship, and they're like military or whatever, and they want to make sure that Jason doesn't escape. Yeah, so Jason escapes, he gets out of this cryopod or whatever, and starts killing people on the ship. We also meet a robot lady, I guess, or she's an android, or like, she's not a clone, she's like a mechanoid of some sort. She's, anyway, lady Terminator, let's say. And that leads to a good scene later in the movie where it's basically Jason versus the lady Terminator, and she kicks ass and almost takes him out. Jason manages to cut off her head, but she's still like talking. She's the dude, her like companion dude or whatever, is holding her head under his arm. And all the kills and stuff in this are really, well, some of them are just like, oh, Jason stabs that guy, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. There's a scene where Jason like freezes this lady's face in the liquid nitrogen, and he like smashes her on the desk, and her face shatters into a million pieces. It's kind of crazy. You've probably seen this meme before. You've probably seen this movie before, now that I think about it, or if not in its entirety, you've probably seen clips of it on the internet. It's known as the goofiest, most ridiculous Jason movie, and I won't disagree with that. But it is also one of the most fun ones. And one more major thing that happens, Jason gets like blown away. He gets like half his head blown off, he loses an arm and a leg and all this shit. And however, his regenerative properties, combined with the nanobots in the sickbay area of the ship, manage to, of course, resurrect him again. But he gets an upgrade, and then he's like total metal Jason, space metal Jason assassin. He even gets like a space machete at one point. Yeah, and I guess the Uber Jason, as they call him in the credits, I guess he has to finish a job and kill off everybody else on this spaceship, because he manages to kill the military guys, except for one at the very end, who he kills at the very end outside of the spaceship. Of course, your final girl is going to be the lady that got frozen with Jason, and the guy with the robot and the robot's head. Those are the only survivors. Yeah, okay, so Jason in space. You know that, okay, it's a monster aboard a spaceship. How many times have we seen this before? Like, I mean, of course, Alien, way back in the day, started all this, and everybody was like, wow, that's cool, what a great concept, let's use that. And at this point, the Alien franchise had already done it 4 times, plus, of course, Hellraiser did it, back in Hellraiser Bloodline. And then, of course, Critters went back to space. Just talked about that one a little while ago. Leprechaun in space. But yeah, Jason X, yeah, you're not meant to take this seriously at all. There's a ton of jokes in this. Of course, you got your goofy stoner character, like you had in all the 2000s movies. Probably 3 or 4 female characters, students of this professor, that I don't remember any of their names, but they all look kind of the same, you know? They had that mid-2000s look. But yeah, the characters are pretty weak, and you're just basically hanging around waiting for him to get killed. Like, it's not a scary movie. By this time, nobody went to a Friday the 13th or a Jason movie and expected to get scared. Like, no, you went there to watch a bunch of douchebags get killed, and in the most horrific way possible. And that's exactly what this is. In space. I'm gonna have to give Jason X a B+. A B plus because it was just as enjoyable as I remember when I saw it back in 2002. There was even some stuff I forgot about. There's some really funny classic moments in here. There's also some really gross stuff in here. Not too bad though. I wouldn't say this is the goriest of the Friday the 13th movies. This one I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it is kind of one of my favorite of the entire franchise. So, my next review, it might be horror, might be comedy, or a really bad action movie, or just a crazy good movie. You never know. You're just rolling the dice, man. So until next time, stay cool, because I'm dying here. And have a good one, everybody.